Hello, footies, and welcome to Foot in Review. We are the number one independent FC24 podcast, bringing you 2 shows a week. We are available on all podcast platforms around the world, including now on Amazon Music, and of course, as a fully produced video show on YouTube and Spotify. And of course, if you can spare a few bucks and join our loyalty programs and get some free merchandise while at it, visit patreon.com/footinreview or footinreview.com and join our super close community and get that invite to our Discord server with that. Today's episode is brought to you by CarMoney, but more about them later. And on that note, let's shout out our Patreon Skybox owners. It's time to say a big thank you to Paul C, Amar L, Archum W, Mario A, Simon E, and of course, Peter M. Now let's get this show started.
Hello footies, welcome along to your latest dose of EAFC 24 Ultimate Team goodness. We are Foot in Review, powered by footcoaching.com. We are recording this on Monday, the 25th of September 2023, although you'll probably be hearing this on Tuesday the 26th, unless you're one of our excellent patrons who get this show a little bit early. My name is Dan Wimbush, otherwise known as Wimby. Delighted to be joined today by the scout, Nathan Downs. 2 shows into the new game cycle, Nathan, and I'm already got you on the dock in FIFA court.
That's it. I mean, yeah, we'll get into that, but it's a pleasure to be on. Thank you for inviting me back in. I think you had ulterior motives in bringing me back on today, but we shall see.
Yeah, it's like one of those, like what, Jerry Springer or Jeremy Kyle or whatever, where it's just like, I've invited you here. You think you're coming for like a party or something, but no. This is a sting operation because we are going to rake you over the coals and get into that. But look, we've got lots to get into on today's show. Of course, EAFC fully out now. Most of us who purchased the Ultimate Edition or have been using that free EA Play trial have now had an extensive look at the game. Of course, we had Grandpapa Mac, Ingvi and John talking about their initial thoughts on Friday, but myself and Nath are going to go into a bit of a deeper dive. Now we've had a couple of days, well, a few days now to play. We've also got the start of a couple of new features. We've got our formation in review, our FIR, and our player in review, our PIR. So stay tuned for those a little bit later on in the show. Plus, we'll be bringing through the mailbag and much, much more. So Nath, before I do drag you into FIFA court, just your first thoughts on the game.
I like it. I do have to keep reminding myself that it's early sort of stages of the game, because sometimes I'm like, in FIFA 23, it moved a lot quicker. So you kind of have to go back that we are playing with gold cards. And to be honest, we're not all playing with top gold cards either. But I really like it. I think the passing's really fun. There's the odd one that goes wild, but the new precision pass, especially when I'm sort of getting used to it in squad battles, it's making my mind tick about different sort of formations we can maybe try out as well. Something we'll talk about later on. I think it's quite good. Like even things like the power shot, and it might be in my head, but I don't remember the power shot being that quick to get away. Like I think they've nerfed that in EA24. So if you hit the power shot, it doesn't do the ridiculous slowdown, and you're like, oh, someone's going to tackle me now. Like it's fairly smooth, and even some of the skill moves transitions, I think they've nailed that really well at the moment. So yeah, it's positive. I mean, we all know that the big EA nerf will come at some point, so can't get too used to it because usually it's quite a big patch, the first one. But at the same time, I can't really grumble too much. How about you, Dan? How are you finding it?
Yeah, overall, I think I'm enjoying it. I've played probably a dozen games online and 3 dozen games offline as I've been spamming my way through these objectives, trying to get as many packs as possible and things like that. But yeah, it's nice. I like the Playstyles Plus. The Playstyles have made something different. I think the introduction of women into the game has gone even better than I thought it would. It's been fantastic. It's increased the diversity of teams. Menu content, maybe not quite as good as I'd like it, but it is very early days. And there are a few things that I've just outright not liked about the game. More on the technical side of things and just the way EA have handled the launch of this game, which we'll get into. But we'll stick with the positives for now. And the positive for me is I get to drag you straight into FIFA court because every time I'm not doing a show with you, Nath, you will get in some sort of a barb about how good my pack luck is. Yeah, I'll just wait for Dan to pack something or something like that. I'm with Nishan or John. Do you care to tell our dear listeners, Nath, who you managed to pack on what, day 2 of this game?
Yeah, it was day 2. It was day 1 for me. So I'm going to call it another day 1 launch, day 1 luck. Obviously, for those that heard our kind of look ahead show with Shaq, I said I will absolutely categorically not pull another icon on launch. But lo and behold, a nice little Rio Ferdinand came into one of my packs. So my tradable pack looks been wonderful, hasn't it, Dan? I mean, I can't really grumble for another 2 or 3 days now. We've had sort of awesome, and I was just saying to you beforehand, I had a lazy buy on an Edison that's got me an extra 180k. Had Rio. So I got a few coins early on, so I'll not complain for what we are now, 25th of September. I'll probably not complain until about the 30th anyway for now.
Yeah, you're absolutely banned from complaining about pack luck. But I'm probably going to say for the rest of 2023, I don't want to hear it from you. But no, look, congratulations, GG's. But, we joke and jest, but we were talking just before we came on air. Sometimes it's that old more money, more problems dilemma, because we are in the very early days of the game. We are seeing wild swings in the marketplace, and it's difficult to know sometimes where to put those coins. Do you spend now? Do you build a good team now? How are you kind of approaching it with such a big coin balance already?
So I'm still at the stage where you guys were probably at sort of Friday, Saturday, where you were doing all the objectives, which gave you the untradable packs. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm basically replacing all the tradable ones that I've had. I did put a few points on, not lots, but I put a few points on at the start of the game. And obviously we had the 4,600 as well. So that's how I've had some of these good tradable ones. So my plan is, I think I'm sitting on 1.5 mil just now. So I think once I've done all these objectives for the big untradeable packs, we're going to sit down, and I'm probably going to call you into that as well, and maybe Ingvi, our massive squad trader who I know is in the chat. And if I were to say I'm on 1.5 now, I'm probably going to say, right guys, let's go put 250 300k into a competitive gold team. I don't want to go too ham on golds, because we know, and you'll talk about it in your trading show, but golds like drop, like they'll go up for the first couple of weeks, but they will drop. So I don't want to get too far into that, because my mind will always be spinning. When do I sell? What do I do? So yeah, I think just keep competitive. I wouldn't put all 1.5 mil into the top players, because we know they'll drop, even the heroes and that, like they'll be steadily, but we know that the next bunch will come out, and same with the icons and stuff. So I think it's all about staying competitive without going too crazy too early.
Yeah, it's a really tricky one. I mean, look, I think the very best meta cards will continue to rise. I mean, we saw last year, I remember I didn't think cards like Captivia and stuff would just keep going up, that World Cup Captivia card, and it just did. It's all a case of, will there be something better out to replace what we've got now? And EA have already gone for the wallet. They've gone for the jugular, Nathan. We've seen a 200 and a 3,000 point FIFA point pack last night. Was it 275,000 coins?
Yeah.
Before the game is actually even out. So they are not holding back. They are happy to tempt us in. It was effectively an 81 plus times 30 pack for people to buy. So look, I think people for years have said that, well, it's not a pay to win game. It's not a pay to win game. You are slightly leaning towards that now with such massive packs right from day one, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, it may not be pay to win, but it's pay to get a massive advantage. I think one thing that EA have done well, and we'll credit them, is I think the way that the game started, there probably will be a skill gap, because I think some of these new techniques they brought on is really cool, and I think that will kind of make the better players stand out. But at this stage of the game, if you spend that and you pull your Mbappes, your Neymars, your Alo Wirens, can never pronounce, one of these big players early doors, then that's going to give you an automatic advantage, especially when you've got a 90 rated, or is it 92 rated Mbappe or 91, whatever he is, and then he's facing a 75 rated fullback. Like, he's going to burn him and make him look like he's running through treacle. So I think a big pulls now, it does definitely give you an advantage. For those of you that are thinking FOMO, I did spend some of my coins on that pack, and I got a random 85 who is worth pretty much minimum. He's like worth discard, and it's absolutely terrible. I think I got lots of 82s, but yeah, if FOMO's a thing, I've done it, and I wouldn't recommend going to do it.
Yeah, look, I've seen the big streamers open loads of packs. I've seen some absolute wonder double walkouts, and I've seen some absolute flops. I've not done any of the big packs. I like you. I loaded up a little bit for the very opening of the game and just spent it on premium gold packs. Gave me a little bit of a base of coins to go off and trade off. I've sort of grinded my way up to about 300k now. I just doing loads of small stuff, which I'll get into on the trading show. Again, that is exclusive for our Patreon subscribers, patreon.com/foot in review. Sign up for the supporter tier and higher, and you get myself and Shaq talking in depth about the market and trading. So that our next show for that will be on Thursday. Just to mark your cards for that one. Loads of other benefits as well. Of course, you can listen to the show live. We've got Adam and Ingvi in the studio here with us right now, for example, doing just that. But yeah, so I've been steadily grinding my way up, coins-wise, just doing little bits and pieces. But I've had better than you, pack luck, untradable-wise. I've got Cristiano Ronaldo. My best have been Militao and Rudiger. So I've got my centre-back sorted for the next however long. But I've been buying players, been trying players. I think I've missed the boat on a few because I think the market is shot off to the moon, especially on golds at prices that I just don't want to pay anymore. So I'm kind of looking around heroes and icons about whether I sort of put some money into one big player to sort of build my team around. Cristiano Ronaldo, I got was my big attacking pull. And he's going to be my player in review, which we'll come on to a little bit later on. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's been a good launch. I've enjoyed it. I'm sat here now. We're recording this, and I'm excited to be playing the game when we finish. But there are those problems we mentioned on Friday's show. There were no stadiums in the game. There were loads of kits were missing. Happy to say, Nath, they've appeared now at last.
They have. I mean, half of me wants to go back to the old ways of saying, like, give me my compensation because I could have got so many more things out the packs that we opened. I mean, if I got all those packs back, then, I'd be sitting here again for another few days. I don't think they will do that. I think they've not really acknowledged it at all. But it's good to have them back. I don't know if you've picked any. I don't even know. Is Reading Stadium in the game?
Reading Stadium is not in the game because we've not been in the Premier League since foot really took off, because our last season was in there 2012-13, and they only tend to model the Prem stadiums.
Yeah.
So our stadium isn't in there. I always play at the Municipal de Ipurua in Spain, which is Ibar's stadium, because it reminds me of Elm Park where Reading used to play. But so I've got to go out and buy that stadium. I've not actually seen if it's in the game. I've bought my Reading kits and badges. We're now bronze, because we're League One. But the good news is that because we're bronze, I can buy them for 200 coins each. So I've saved myself $4,500 on each. So look, it's nice of them to be there. Like you, I don't expect compensation. They should. I think if you went and kicked up a big enough stink and, tried to put in, I'm not saying go a lawsuit or whatever, but if you kicked up a big enough stink and was like, stuff you said was in the game wasn't in the game, and you could argue, I mean, like Chris was talking about on Friday, you could argue, well, I was after Ibrox. I was buying packs trying to get Ibrox. I wanted to play it, and that concept wasn't in the game. And more importantly, it was not disclosed that stuff wasn't in packs. I think that was the key thing. I think EA have just hoped that it will go under the radar and people won't kick up enough stink, because I think you would have a pretty good case of saying, look, this wasn't in packs. I bought packs, in the same way if you were trying to get a promo player and that promo player wasn't in packs.
Yeah, absolutely.
They would compensate, but they're not going to do this because it would cost them, well, not money, because they would just give people packs, but it would completely screw up the market and be an absolute massive headache. So it's not going to happen. Just glad it's in there at last, and people could start to customize away. Other problems, though, Nath, are creeping up. The issue of crashes seems to be a big one as well.
Yeah, Ingvi in the live chat, and I've seen in our Discord a lot of people having issues with crashing. I've had one where I didn't fully crash, but it definitely buffered, if you like. And I think it was just on the squad battles where you kind of got to the new cutscene at the end of the game, and I just couldn't select anything. But I just waited it out. I went in, did I make tea, or I went to the dishwasher, did some very, very cool, task at home. But I came back and it did kind of free up. But yeah, it's a bit disappointing when these are in, because you get yourself so hyped up for this. And, towards the end of I'm going to say EA 23. I'm getting myself so confused now. Towards the end of FIFA 23, we did get the idea, the feeling that they were kind of neglecting FIFA to go onto the EA 24. So I was hoping that EA 24 would be like the absolute pinnacle, like the perfect launch, all bugs out of the system, everything right. Unfortunately, it's not been the case. And to be honest, I'm sitting here thinking us two especially had quite a few shows last year where we had to highlight not just maybe one a session, but there was sometimes 2 or 3, 4 mistakes each week. And I'm just hoping that this isn't going to go down that line where we're going to be constantly thinking, what if they screwed up on now? And, the game's got so much potential. If they can just get this right and, the quality control element comes into it, then hopefully it'll be a good year. But if they're starting off like this and I think to quote Ingve, you say that you're sweeping the kits and stadiums thing under the carpet, and things like that, even acknowledge there was an issue. Re-releasing the packs that you've opened, it is going to kill the market. It's probably going to kill the game for the people that have on the early release, because you get so many more players back and pulls and stuff, especially to the tradable packs. So you'd be on another step up compared to the guys joining on this Friday on normal launch. The market will be in the mud, but then these guys come on and how that react, it's just too many kind of issues there. So hopefully they'll pull their fingers out, and this will just be like a start, kind of a wee issue at the start, and then on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, look, this smacks of a game launch that has been all about glitz, glamour, and trying to wow us with new colours, and it's the classic distraction techniques. Because actually, whilst I'm not slagging off the gameplay and things like that, it's a fine football game. But for a company that makes this much money, they've been lazy. I'll just go outright and say it. Things like the companion app is still a bug-riddled mess, an absolute bug-riddled mess. And there is no excuse for this. You've known EAFC was coming. You had a chance to go out and say, right, let's look at this app here. What works with it? What doesn't work with it? Let's fix some of the flaws that have been in and been reported over and over and over again. And they just don't do it. They don't do it. Now, I don't think that's a lack of talent or skill from people that work there. Maybe it's they haven't got the resources to do it. I think that's probably a more likely thing. EA are obviously trying to maximize profit levels. They'll be looking to keep a lean stuff. They're a corporation. They've got shareholders. I've mentioned to the cows come home on this show. They're a business and they're about trying to make money. And for the 10 millionth time, they've got no competition. They've got zero competition, so they are getting lazier, Nate. And I think they are getting more and more complacent about things like this, about releasing things that are buggy, about keeping things that are buggy in there, because they know that the hype is so huge. People are so engrossed. I'm sitting here and I've rattled off 10 things I don't like, but I'm still excited to play the game. And I'm talking about this on a podcast. So if I'm like that, the casual player is probably not as concerned, but that doesn't excuse it. And I don't want anybody listening to the show to think I'm ever going to make excuses for this, because it's not. And when they get that pressure, it will be the best thing for everybody. Because if people start, if for a miracle, eFootball turned things around and was suddenly, and they had a web app that was brilliant, they had a companion app that was great, they were flawless with content, they were great at apologizing and making up to their community for things that go wrong, which they already do, by the way. The amount of times I would log into eFootball when I was playing it a couple of years ago, and I would get a random notification of, oh, this was wrong, our servers were down too long, or this, here, have something, was brilliant. So they do care about people, whereas EA are in that market leader position where they don't have to. But let's move away from the negativity. In fact, I'll linger on one last bug just because it comes from the mailbag, which, of course, if you're part of the Discord, part of the Patreon, you get access to Discord, and Grandpapa Mac has raised the point. Now, have you noticed that they've moved the where you store players button and where you quick sell players button on the companion app and the web app?
Yeah, they have. To be honest, I'm not going to say it's a bugbear for mine. I actually quite like the fact they've kind of put it all together. I can see where Grandpapa Mac's coming. Like it's going to be easier if you're not paying attention to quick sell your pulls, and then obviously you'll probably not have that amount of quick sell recoveries left. So I do see what you're saying, but I think it's more once you get used to it. I think people think it's actually quite a good thing. But I wouldn't say it was a negative even right off the bat. I quite enjoyed it being like that.
Yeah, and just while we're still on the mailbag as well, Ingve in the live chat raises the point. Do you think that the player SBCs so far have been a bit expensive? Because we've seen 3 so far. We've seen James Maddison, Chuba Akpom, and Kevin De Bruyne. De Bruyne coming in at about 180. Maddison, the Premier League Player of the Month, coming in at 50k. And Chuba Akpom, for an 85 rated player from the Eredivisie, coming in at 85k. I mean, what do you make of it?
Yeah, I think the only decent one out of that is Madison. Madison at 48k is okay. I mean, I still wouldn't do that because at this stage, none of the new players are going to stay in your team that long. I don't think De Bruyne looks fine. If you take 100k off him for 80k, you're probably thinking, yeah, I'm going to go and do him. But 180k, I think, is wild. 4-star, 4-star, moderately. He's got sort of 80s all across until his defense and his physicalities go down to 70. Obviously, his passing's up at 91, so he's fine. But he's not 180. When the market's this low, he's not. I know the market is rising, but you can get players. Bernardo Silva, I would have gone for over him. His gold card, I think, sort of a little bit more expensive, but not his non-inform. I don't think it's massively different to that. I say that now. I'm actually just checking it before I look like an idiot. What is his? So it's 120. So it's a lot cheaper for his 91 gold. So it's slower, but it's probably. I would probably prefer that gold card and play him as a sort of centre mid, the way that the game built for the passes and stuff. So I don't think he's even worth sort of 60k more than his gold from looking at him. So I think that's a bit dodgy. And then obviously they've brought out the Tuber Akpom because he's quite a fast striker. But he's 85 rated. He ties in with the milestone releases. We're obviously starting with the Eredivisie first, but 3-star, 3-star, moderately fast, low aggression, low passing, terrible defense, so you can't even press from the front with it. I think even 85k for him is very stingy on a league that's probably not got millions of players that we're going to see in your squads week in, week out.
Yeah, and look, those foundation milestones players, none of the three really scream get into your team for any length of time. I suppose you're literally just starting the game. The good thing is EA have made them really accessible, Nath. It's not going to take you very long to do them at all. All you've really got to do is put a couple of Eredivisie players in your team, one of them towards the front, and you'll be all right. So you'll be able to get Small, Chillison, and Drioch. I probably butchered their name. Apologies, John. Although none of them are Feyenoord players, so I'm sure he doesn't mind as much. So yeah, I mean, look, if you had the three of those plus Akpom in, it's a very solid team. None of them are bad players, especially, but none of them are really that you'd be like, oh, I can't wait to build my team around them. I think Madison is really well priced, especially because you get a 7.5k pack and I think it's a 10k pack tradable back. So actually, really, in net cost, it's only costing you about 35k. He looks a decent enough midfielder. Nice little cam. He's obviously got I think it's the set piece playstyle plus, hasn't he? Which is nice to have. So again, I've got no problem with someone doing that for one of the early part of the game. I won't be unless I get a couple of high rated dupes on Thursday from rewards. But that's very unlikely to do. But yeah, a little bit pricey. Yeah, Akpom I'd stay away from. But look, the way that these promo packs are being pumped out, Nath, again, we say, oh, that costs 83k. But if you're opening one of those 81 plus times 30, it's probably going to cost you next to nothing to get a card like that done.
Yeah, possibly, and it's if you it's a dupe sort of a dupe filler, isn't it? Like that's dupe where we put them in. Dupe dump, that's the one. So apart from De Bruyne, like we said, it was really pretty expensive. I think he's an 88 and 87 rated squad or something like that. So I would stay away from him because at this stage of the game, you're wanting to conserve your coins, you're wanting to think about longevity. Really, I mean, obviously you go for fun as well, but it's a long 11.9 months to go, so you don't want to be losing everything straight away. And yeah, it's fine. Madison's probably the one out of the three I would do. Depends on how the team's set up once I've kind of got rid of all my tradables, but I just think it's a little bit expensive for what they are, but at the same time, so De Bruyne I'm sure will feel really good in game. So if you maybe don't want everyone having an 87 good De Bruyne at this time. Same with Madison as well. He's affordable enough, but he's also people like me that are a bit stingy might be thinking early game, and 86 probably going to be my squad for 2 weeks, if that, and then move on again.
Yeah, again, I wouldn't go out of my way to do Madison, but I can absolutely understand if you're building a Prem team. But you've got to respect the fact there'll be lots of people that aren't even picking up the game now until Friday when the standard launches. And that brings me on to another point as well. We've seen it a lot in our Discord. I myself have felt this way, that it's tough out there. It's tough. You're seeing a lot of really good teams out there early. And remember that the people playing this game at the moment are the most dedicated people. I mean, people like us that talk about it. All the pros out there, all the influencers. If you've bought the Ultimate Edition, chances are you really enjoy your FIFA to have made that additional investment. So the opposition is going to be tough, and it will get easier for everybody. A, as the big player pool increases massively on Friday, but B, as people very quickly find their level. And you mentioned as well, Nath, and it's a point that John raised in the Discord as well, there is that skill gap. There does seem to be a very noticeable skill gap this year. So the better players are going to rise quicker, and it will leave people able to find their level a lot easier. But, you know, I'm only in Div 8, and I play basically, I don't play scrubs. I just play at the very worst, it's a solid player.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, some of the teams we're seeing already is like mental. So then you get too disheartened. It's going to be a long 12 months. So if you're in Div 10, 7, 10, 9, 8, whatever, like you're not, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily a bad player. You could have bad matchmaking, like you say. You could, you know, everyone's in a small pool, and obviously the guys that can play day and night will probably move further forward than they will if you can only play a couple hours a day or a couple hours every second day or whatever. So it's a new game. And there's also the new mechanics to get used to as well. Some people will adapt to the new mechanics quicker, but, you know, it'll come. If you play around, it will come, and, you know, you'll start to see that separation, I think. And, you know, if you are struggling, hold on till Friday, then you should maybe get a few more people that are kind of a few more casuals, if you like.
Yeah, it's also I've noticed personally that there's a big change when, and John again has mentioned this in podcasts in the past, if you play other game modes other than Rivals and Foot Champs, you can get into bad habits. And I've been playing a lot of squad battles on semi-pro and pro, and probably just being really lazy because I know, like, oh, if I give the ball away, I'll get the ball back in a minute, it'll be fine. And that probably doesn't help for when I've then gone into Rivals and my passing has been a bit looser than it should have been. I'm not as that, you know, when I'm playing the computer, I'm not actively triggering as many runs and things like that and thinking like that. Whereas if you play exclusively online, and as I have now sort of ticked off most of the objectives, I am now doing most things in Rivals, I have noticed that my play's got that a little bit better.
Yeah, it will do. Like you say, it's just about habits. And I'm at the start of the game where I am doing a bit more squad battles, trying to get the untradable pack. So I will be coming out of this week sort of session, and I will have those bad habits. And to be honest, those of us in the Discord will probably hear me going, "This is horrific. I'm so bad. I hate this game." And in about 2 days' time, once I've played it a little bit, I'll be like, "This game's amazing. I love it." It's just how it goes. It's the same every year, to be honest. So as long as you can keep in your mind that, you know, there are reasons for it, you've not just become a bad player because it's a different game. I think everything will be fine. It's just getting your mindset right.
Yeah, and look, if it is negatively impacting you with your mental health and things like that, and your ego's taking a blow, your morale's taking a blow, just pop back on squad battles. They've now launched the Friendlies Cup as well. What they call it, the Evolutions Cup, for a few packs as well. So no word, by the way, yet. We haven't really kind of figured out if it's skill-based matchmaking on that. It's too early. So watch this space, I'm sure. Hopefully, the good thing
to put into that is the objective brought out. It's uncapped in terms of number of games, which I'm hoping they're going to take into the next one. I don't mind them putting in, you know, instead of win 7 or whatever, is win 12. But just don't limit the amount of games you've got. I think that's much better. But, sorry, I know I was interrupting, but I thought that was quite a big one before I forget.
Yeah, the friendly cup, as Ingvi describes it. So, pop back in some other modes and then go back to Rivals, maybe again into next week. There's no rush. It's a long game cycle. We've got another 51 weeks to go on this game cycle. So, you take a few days out, work on your team, work on some objectives, and then come back to it. And there'll be a bigger player pool, and you've got a better chance of matching up against players around your skill level. And I think that makes everybody feel better when you are playing people that are at your level, rather than having to, run the risk of running into absolute monsters. And no one likes a beating, and I've taken a fair few of them already, Nath. Speaking of beatings, let's get into some of the reasons for those beatings. Let's talk formation in review. We don't have a fancy sting for it yet, but we will do. The production's on the way, folks. The production's on the way, but you'll have to make do with me for now. So, Nath, formation in review. I'm going to start with the 4-2-3-1 this week, because we mentioned on kind of the preparation show that you did with Shaq, and I mentioned on Tony's show as well, and the other show I did on last week. I went back to basics, and so far I've played around with 4-2-2-2, 4-4-2, and I'm just finding 4-2-3-1 to be pretty balanced for me. Have you used it yet at all?
I have, especially when I was reading in a Discord about some sort of the dribbling being really good, and it's a good game to be an attacker and type thing. So I'm like you, I wanted the balance, two different variations. So I've basically kind of tried to copy a little bit of my last like FIFA 23, which I played, so you know where the players are. So 4-2-3-1, I think is very balanced. I'll go on to it after you've kind of talked about your ins and outs of it, Dan, but it's kind of made, watching some of the gameplay and playing myself, it's made me think about a different formation as well than this, but I've not quite sorted my team out, so I don't want to try and change it around too much until I've got an actual playing team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the big advantage to the 4-2-3-1 is it encourages you to be more patient because you haven't got that two-pronged attack, so you're not constantly looking for the through balls, for the long, the long manual passes, or over the top balls. It's forcing me to kind of be a bit more tick-attacker, build up, go backwards and forwards and sideways. And it is that back and forth movement that is opening up the chances. And it's what costs me as well, because I am impatient. I will bring players out of position. I will chase too much, and I will leave a big gap somewhere and get punished for it. Particularly, it seems by the 4-3-3, and there's a couple of variants. I think it's the fifth variant that seems to be causing me a lot of trouble. I think is the fifth variant the one with a CF as opposed to the striker. Yeah. And what that seems to do is it really packs that middle. That CF comes deeper in, and they pick up the ball in those areas if you give it away in that centre of midfield, and it just bursts onto you. And I'm having a real problem. People seem to be playing quite either press on possession lost or a constant pressure, because I'm noticing I'm playing that formation a lot. And if I can hang in there until about the 60th minute, the stamina drain usually lets me take control, but I have been blown away early by that formation.
Yeah, and that kind of comes on to, so like I said, I like the 4-2-3-1, but I was looking at some of the options that we've got, and I really want to go and play around with the 5-1-2-2 formation. I think that has so much potential, and I've seen a bit of John's footage, and I've played a bit, and passing is king in this game. And I think if you're playing sort of like the 4-3-3 or whatever, but you've got your two full-backs bombing on, so you've got your three centre-backs that can pick up their attackers, and that one CDM that sits in front and that'll pick up the centre-forward dropping deep. I think that formation has so much potential this year, especially, like I say, if you get used to the precision passing where you can bring in your wingers. I think I was looking around at a lot of the five-backs, but I think that one looks like it's got, for me, the potential. And 2 weeks time I might be saying this formation's terrible, but I think the way the game feels, that's got a lot, especially if somebody's sort of tiki taka, or the technical. I've used Bernardo Silva, and his dribbling's unreal. So if you've got these type of players, I don't want to be playing one depth sort of everyone full back, but I want to be competitive, and I don't want to be too open either. So I think that has a lot of the potential for it.
Yeah, I've been playing on slightly lower depth than I would usually. Usually I'm up in the kind of 60 range. I've dropped that back to about 45 just because this is a real game that does punish you. When players get away, they get away. And the amount of times I've seen that evolved Darwin Núñez romping through my back line is uncomfortable for me. But if I go back and look at it, I can pinpoint the mistakes. I'm not saying this is, it's bugged, it's so OP. It's not. It just punishes, and that's what we talk about when we say skill gap. It's punishing me for making mistakes, and it's about drilling into yourself those behaviors and not, and adapting to them. And that is what the early part of this game is. We're 5 days in. It's going to take a while. You can't just change your play style completely overnight. So a message to myself and to everybody: give yourself a break. Well, let's move from formation in review to player in review. This show is sponsored by CarMoney, the car finance ninjas, fighting to make cars affordable and accessible for everyone, no matter your financial situation. Nikki, the car finance ninja here, compares the top car finance lenders in both the UK and Australia to get you the best possible price so you don't have to, and they can get you approved fast. All you need to do is choose your new car and drive away happy. Get in touch with one of their friendly ninjas and start your car finance journey today.
X Factor contestant coming up right away, Dan.
Quite. I'm going to start with a player you may have heard of, Cristiano Ronaldo, CR7. Packed him on tradable. Very excited to have done so. The pros on this card: He has got the Power Shot Plus play style. And my word, Nath, talk about power shots being potentially overpowered. If you hit it, he takes a shot almost as quick as a real shot, just a normal shot, sorry. And they just fly in. If you get your aim right, there's no stopping them. Still does require you to be in a little bit of space, but shooting, this guy is absolutely unreal. Strength is half decent, passing, pretty good. But overall, it's in front of goal where this card shines. Of course, it's got the 5-star skills as well. So if you're absolutely using those, I'm not. But when I have pulled off the odd skill move, he does them pretty well. The cons, I mean, the pace, you can't ignore it. He doesn't gallop away from players anymore. The strength isn't amazing either. And I have actually just dropped him from my side because I packed Osman untradable. And as a combination, when I was toying around with 4-2-2 and 4-4-2, I didn't think they worked very well as a pair. So Ronaldo has hit the bench, and I'm going back to that 4-2-3-1. So I'm looking for a more creative cam. I might even go Harry Kane, because Harry Kane and Wayne Rooney were the two players that filled that position well for me last year. So I might go back to Kane this time around. But overall, look, I would say if you are looking for a deadly finisher, get Ronaldo. That playstyle is broken. I think it's going to be tuned because I think it's too good. I think there's only something like 5 gold cards and there's only 2 gold strikers. I think it's Ronaldo and Rashford that have got it, which is probably why you don't see it very often, because there's lots of icons and heroes that have got it, but obviously they're at a price range that most people aren't going to get yet. So I do think it'll be toned down, but for the time being, especially if you're looking to get the objective done as part of the goal scoring milestones, if you want to get that power shot one ticked off very early, I'd go CR7. But yeah, he has been dropped from my team, and I can see very much why he's been around that 50 to 60k mark. I think that is a fair price.
Yeah, he does look decent, and like you say, that he's getting to that point in his real career that there's a few drawbacks to his game, and I guess it's quite nice to see that that's come across into FIFA as well, because we want it to be fairly realistic at times. So it's a very good pull, though. I mean, if somebody said to me, "Here's Ronaldo," you'd definitely make. To be honest, the way my team is just now, we'd be in my starting team. But he would definitely be a player that I would try and keep in as long as you could, because he's Ronaldo, isn't he? He's one of the goats. We'll leave that discussion for another day, but he's definitely up there with being one of the goats. So very good pull. I'm not at all jealous, Dan.
Well, I mean, you can go and buy 20 of him if you really wanted to. Nathan. Actually, more than that. You can go buy 30 of him if you wanted to. Who is your player in review for today's show?
So my one is a lot more under the radar. Price-wise, I think she's only coming in at 1.3k. 1.4k, sorry. She's gone up now. A whole 100 coins. But Ella Toon.
Means you can only buy 1,000 of them.
Exactly. I just pack 1,000 of them on the line. I'll never concede. But no, Ella Toon is a cam has actually surprised me, and I don't know whether it's because I've just not pulled many. I've not packed many women in the game.
I was waiting for you to say that. I was going to say Mrs. Scout right now is
Mrs. Scout is raging,
storming up.
But no, I've not packed many. So I gave her a go for my Man United allegiances, and I tell you what, this I don't know whether it's all women, but she just has this ability to glide away. Her pace is only 81, 83 acceleration, 80 sprint speed, so she's not rapid. But she's just incredible on the ball. I put a dead eye on her, her shooting's cracked. Her passing's insane. A short passing goes up to 98, which, like we said, I think passing's key in this. Her dribbling's up at 86. The only thing bringing that massively down is her agility, but she still seems to wiggle away. So I think this is a bit of a cheap beast. Some people will not like it because she is not rapid. You could obviously put a hunter on and just have her with the pace and the shooting, but I think the passing's insane and the dribbling's very good too. So I would keep that. And Ingvi points out the playstyle as well. So she's got playstyle plus his flair. She's also got the chip shot, incisive pass, the technical, the trickster, and the Travella playstyle. So she's loaded with playstyle. So people might look at her and go, she's 1,000 coins, so let's not do it. Or, she's a lassie that plays for Man United with kind of low 80s pace, so let's not. But honestly, if you want to experiment, give her a go, because I think she's very good, and she's surprised me how good she's been. So hopefully I can get a few more decent pulls as well, but trying to keep her in the squad, keep her on the bench even if I have to, and she can G up the guys.
Yeah, very much so. I almost wanted to bring Frank Kirby as in my player in review. I went for Ronaldo for had to review him, but I might talk more detail about them. But Frank Kirby is brilliant. The way she lives up to the Mini Messi nickname that she's earned in real life. Absolutely love bringing her off the bench. Causes real problems. I think she's about 3.5K at the moment as well. So I've been really impressed with her. She's definitely my impact super sub, and might even try and work her way. She might even take that cam slot now that I've benched Ronaldo. Might try and work her into the squad as well. Chloe Kelly as well, I think, is my favourite winger that I've used. Really rapid, great cross as well. She's got the whipped cross, I think, playstyle plus, which hasn't worked out quite as well as I thought it was. It talks about them being highly precision and high accuracy, but they seem to be getting over hit. So I don't know if something has been lost or I'm doing them wrong. I mean, it's probably me, but not quite getting the most out of that playstyle plus. But even so, she's been in my starting lineup. I really enjoyed it. I had Lauren Hemp as well on the other side, who I liked as well, but I've just moved on because her price went up. But that is this week's player in review. And while we still wait for production on that, we'll start to bring the show to a close, Nath. Again, a big mention, of course, if you are looking to improve your game and work with the very best, footcoaching.com. People like Nath, John, all the guys there, been beavering away with figuring out things, working on things, looking at video analysis, and they've got the best tools in the game to do so. So footcoaching.com if you're interested in that. Of course, as I mentioned, patreon.com/footinreview as well. Of course, we've got our loyalty program as well, free merch on the horizon. I can't wait to get myself one of those I Rage Quit shirts. I might have spoiled that one there for everyone. I'm sorry, John, if I've just dropped that to everybody. But there you go. It's a teaser for everybody. And of course, lots of stuff as well going on our socials. You know, hopefully notice we've been a lot more active on our socials. Give our various socials a follow, where it's TikTok, Instagram in particular. We're doing lots of great stuff. At Foot Coaching is where you can find all of that. And Nath, just before we go, I mean, what is kind of the next steps? So I know you've been kind of talking about getting some more objectives and bits and pieces done, but will you be trying to qualify for that opening weekend league?
Depends on time, to be honest, Dan. I want to get these objectives done. I want to get all those sort of big packs so I can see how my team lies up. Once I've done that, I'll build like we said, a competitive team, take that into rivals to get a bit more practice against human opposition, try and weed out some of those bad habits that we've built. And then if I've got time, then I'll try and do, I will try and qualify. Weekend league's not usually my bag, so maybe I can get on for this Friday potentially. If not, I don't know when the next time I'll be able to do it, but then playing weekend league on the first weekend league on the Friday with only the early release been available, I'm not quite sure I'm brave enough for that. It'll be like being fed to the lions, I think.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. I mean, it's listed to start this weekend. Some people are saying that it might not happen, but as far as we know, it's going to happen this weekend. So, you know, if you're in it, just getting those points through rivals to get into playoffs, yet alone then getting through playoffs, is going to be tough. So I don't think I'm going to have the time to do it. I'll try my best, but we will see. But look, lots to look forward to. This show will return on Friday with John and our regular crew. Not sure who he's got on the guest lineup right now, but you can, of course, hear that show on Saturday night. Our release schedule being Tuesday nights and Saturday nights as well. Just saying, we're recording this on Monday morning as well. So if some sensational content drops on Monday night, that is why we have not mentioned it up to this point. Of course, again, know all the places to go to find us. Nath, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter as NJ Downs, and again, our amazing Discord. Hire into that if you can. NJ Downs as well. I think we're running a 7-day free trial on that, like we've said. So that's quite a cool thing to do. And then if you're in there and you've got any suggestions for a 2 to 300k gold team, let me know. Well, it doesn't have to be gold, but 2 to 300k team. Send us your suggestions as well. I'll get that built, and then I can try and make that competitive as we can.
Yep, lots to look forward to here on Foot in Review over the coming year. Thank you so much for all the support. As mentioned, we've had some great people have popped into the Discord. We're seeing new people join all the time. It's really active. Even in the early hours, we've got people talking like EAFC at like 3 a.m. So look, it's if you ever need a place to vent, to share, to ask advice, it's a great place to do so, and well worth. I think it works out at something like £1 a week or something like that to join the lowest level of the Patreon. So very much encourage that. As mentioned, the show will return on Friday. I'm going to be doing a couple of other little things. As mentioned, a show with Shack Attack on Thursday. That'll be for our patrons that support us here and above, our trading show. And I'm also going to sit down with a name from Foot in Review past, as well as do a special project, which we will announce more of in due course. But Nath, just one thing left for us to do.
Drop it.
We are going to drop it.
Drop it. U
T
F U
T
F F F U
T
F U T
T
T interview F U
T
F U
T
F F F U
T
F U